Yes. Here we are. Are we here? I think we're here. And good day to you all out there on the internet. And if somebody wants to tell me that you can hear everything fine or that it sounds horrible, feel free. Or anything else. Hello. I'll sing a song to start out with here. Bank is empty. Card is full. And no matter how hard I pull, the car don't move. The rent is due. I'm not sure what else to do. Get a job. Perhaps I should. Pulling shots or hauling wood. It's a bit too late right now for that. So in the meantime, here's my hat. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. My landlord is a company which takes away all my money, as well as that of half the town. They're slumlords of great renown. The Randall Group, the group of Randall. You can bet they don't need to panhandle. They own my building, they might own yours, along with all of your mold spores. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. 'Cause at that time the rent is due. This is a red line for me, don't know about you. Everything else just comes to a halt when you get thrown out onto the asphalt. Call it funding from the crowd. Sounds so nice, it rhymes with cloud. Call it begging, I don't care, long as Randall gets their share. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. 'Cause this world I can't afford. I'm throwing a party for my landlord. That's my latest little ditty, which I thought I'd save for this particular occasion, which is a house concert from my living room. I'm alone in my apartment, which is actually kind of unusual. I have 2 babies. And so here we are, just me and you. This is a curtain behind me, which we got a long time ago to sort of create a guest room out of a little space in the living room, when we thought we had a child who might like that. But oh, I know, Sun Tzu. Thank you. I'm glad you're there, though. It's nice to see recognizable handles or names. I don't know who's our names and who's our handles, but if Sun Tzu is your real name, it's a really cool name either way, but it must mean something, doesn't it? I don't know. Lao Tzu is one of my favorite philosophers. Left is best. Gareth Hank. This will be later. Yours is a handle. Queercore Central. Emma the Communist. Yeah, that's definitely a handle. That's way too many. Sligo are watching. Excellent. Yeah, for people listening to the later podcast version, of course, I am looking at the YouTube channel and reading comments that are coming in as we're going. And And this is happily taking requests as long as it's a song I wrote in the past 5 years, and maybe if it's an older song. But comments, questions, insults, all that. Come on, bring it on. Death threats. I'll report you for the death threats, but it's okay. I knew somebody was going to say that, but that's not written in the past 5 years, so I might still do it anyway. Hey, Nebraska. Wonderful. PDX on the 17th of September. Yes. I leave for the East Coast on September 18th, and I'll be August. Oh, was I in September? Was I? No, I was in August 17th for the protest here downtown Portland. I was not here. I was still in Denmark, running the little cafe there, and got back on the 20th. And going out to the East Coast later in September. September 19th, I'll be flying out there, or the 18th actually, and doing a bunch of gigs in Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York City, and visiting Marius in prison in Connecticut. And then October, going to Europe, and there's a good idea. Letter to my landlord. I know those. I've been ignoring the other requests, waiting for one that I felt like doing because that's also lovely. But I was thinking also of doing some songs from my upcoming album, which you may or may not have heard. But I did say requests, and I mean it, and I will integrate some of that. But maybe I'll do a song about my landlord just because I like that request, because I really don't like my landlord, and it's rent day today. Rent is due. By the way, I survived by a community-supported art project. If you want to join it, it's davidrovics.com/subscribe. Speaking of the rent that's due today. But by far the best version of this song, Letter to My Landlord, is you will find a free playlist on my YouTube channel called Live in Ross Trevor. And that's with Lorna McKinnon singing with me, and it's amazing. Her singing is amazing. Hopefully we'll be doing a recording project together with a bunch of other musicians in Ireland. Me and Lorna and Kamala and a bunch of other folks, Paul McAdam, later in October. And that depends on people's schedules, and it depends on funding. davidrovics.com. You can read about that too. The project will be called Strangers and Friends. But this song probably won't be on it. We already recorded this one. But it was a request, and I'll get to more stuff, which is kind of obvious, given that this is a house concert. Writing you this letter cause among the choices it's probably better than listening to voices raging in my head saying point and shoot. Then after you're dead your face meets my boot. I don't know your name, it's better that way cause I can't play this game, who knows what I'll say. I feel like I'm burning, I've had it up to here. It's time that you were learning the meaning of fear. I live in these apartments at your private property among your residents. Most of us agree that you're a piece of crap. How does that make you feel? We don't like you one bit, and that's for real. We think you're a thief, that you don't care. Seems your one belief is whatever the market will bear. Whatever you can get away with, what you can make us pay. If we ever get justice, you should fear that day. Landlord. Landlord. But it's not just you it's all your kin. The things you do cause the state we're in. You bribe the politicians so they let you off lead. Now the legal situation's just the one you need for you to make millions, for profits to be high, but even billions won't be with you when you die. I hope you find a death you seek, meet the devil that you serve. If you live another week, that's more life than you deserve. Landlord, landlord. In the class war you're waging, there's no question who is winning. But if there's any justice, this is only the beginning. The next act in the play will be written by the tenant, and until your dying day you'll be paying penance. Your assets will be seized, that's a given. You profiteers of misery start spending time in prison. Then you can get a job, figure out what you do best. You can keep the house you live in, but we're taking all the rest. Landlord, 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 landlord. Oh, landlord. So, I can't seem to get in tune here. Thank you. Let's see. I'm gonna do a song from my upcoming album. At least that's the idea. And no matter, that's a really good point. No matter how much land you take up when you're alive, when you're dead, you're 6 feet under it. That's excellent. Somebody's asking, do I smoke pot? Now that's I'd be hesitant to answer just because of getting, busted traveling international. But yeah, I do smoke pot every day. I can't hide that fact. I've written too many songs about it. But I don't like actually in smoking. I smoke pot, but I don't inhale. No, I vape because I think it's it's clearly much better for my lungs. I vape cannabis. I don't vape nicotine. Nothing against it. I just don't do it. It makes me more creative with his lyric writing. I think. I would say that. Honestly, to not necessarily be. I wouldn't consider myself a promoter of cannabis use or a discourager of cannabis use, but as an artist, I would say that that there is this barrier between the sort of left and right brains, or whatever we're calling these things these days. But there's this kind of separation between these things in our minds, and I think smoking pot and limited use of hallucinogens and various other practices, including just playing music, actually, and singing, and many other things, but smoking pot is among them. These are practices that can be helpful for breaking down that barrier, which is helpful for the creative process, I think. So that's for me. Anarchists do more drugs than any other group I've met? That's what you think, Yvonne? My experience, personally, is that communists drink by far the most alcohol compared to any other political group that I spend any time with. And they smoke the most tobacco. They do not smoke the most pot, or if they do, they're quiet about it because they don't want to get kicked out of the party. Oh, I missed something there. I want to see that comment. Can I just see all of them? Chat viewing options. All messages are visible. Good. That's better. For caffeine, what about caffeine? I like caffeine a lot. This is a caffeinated beverage. I guess you can't really see it. It'll spill, but left unity. That's a very, very good idea. As long as we have things to agree on, which we do, I think. How old are you, Green Element? Green Element says probably the youngest one here. So my upcoming album is going to be titled "Strangers and Friends," and this is basically the title track, which is about the trial of Scott Warren and no more deaths in Arizona, which is ongoing. If you go to Pima County in the Sonoran Desert Lands, you'll find the town of Ajo among the cactus stands. The only town you'll see, the only water too. When someone is thirsty, there's no question what you do. For well over a century, it was a normal thing to have an extra jug of water that you might bring. In the harsh Sonoran, Arizona summer heat, we'd rather give the vultures something else to eat. You didn't ask where I was going, nor where I'd been. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was naked, you gave me clothes. I was a stranger, you let me in. I have this book here, a story I learned well. I always thought I understood the tale that it tells. It's spelled out very clearly in Matthew 25. What a good Christian does when a stranger arrives. You didn't ask where I was going, nor where I'd been. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was naked, you gave me clothes. I was a stranger, you let me in. Now there's a crackdown with life and death on trial. The only place with water for 100 miles. Facing 20 years in prison is a very mighty rod. Now all of us are forced to choose between Caesar and God. You didn't ask where I was going, nor where I'd been. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was naked, you gave me clothes. I was a stranger, you let me in. You let me in. You let me in. And Juan says, Gen Z is more divided than any other in terms of left-right, and I would tend to agree, but I would say that the fascists are actually just confused socialists for the most part. The division is a product of the collapse of the left. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys liked the song. And what else should I do? I know there were requests. I'm just ignoring them to some extent, but I'm gonna just scroll through. I should have a better method than scrolling. There's an image of the revolution. Oh, yeah, the revolutionary with the cigarette and the glass of wine. Yeah, absolutely. This is on more of the conversation about drugs and alcohol, but that is definitely so classic. And my great aunt, for sure. Leninism is too authoritarian for a left movement. Now there is a good argument there. You can have a good argument on that subject. I'll avoid it. Let's see. But I want to do other songs that are likely to be on this upcoming album. Seems like a good idea, and I can't remember what they were or what I was thinking of doing. But because I was gonna do whatever people had in mind as well, so I didn't have a plan. I usually don't have a plan. I usually don't. I'm generally operating without a plan. Oh, you guys can have an argument about Leninism. I'll ignore that. That's good. Yeah, I'll do this one. Jock Paul Freeman traveled to see friends in Bulgaria, to spend Christmas in their homes, have a night out in Sofia. He was only planning to visit for a short stay. It's been 13 years since then, he's never been away. The night that Jock went out with friends, walked past the metro station, the mood suddenly changed from one of celebration to the sounds of Nazi football hooligans in the streets again, shouting racist slurs at two Roma men. Most people would keep walking or find a place to hide, while some among us have to take a side. Jock stood and faced the Nazis marching in the street. He flashed a blade to keep them back. They threw chunks of concrete. Jock fell to the ground, woke up handcuffed, splitting head. That's the time he learned one of his attackers was dead. No one quite knew what happened, but in the police report, they said these men attacked the Roma, just like Jock said in the court. The CCTV footage disappeared, and then, after it was found, it disappeared again. Most people would keep walking or find a place to hide, while some among us have to take a side. The forensics examiner said of the man who lost his life, clearly he was stabbed, but the wound didn't match the knife. Witness testimony wasn't deemed relevant to the case. In Bulgaria today, that's the justice you might face, because these particular racists were sons of the elite. Corruption in the form of a parliamentary seat, a kangaroo court conviction, every telltale sign. They plan to beat and starve him until 2029. Most people would keep walking or find a place to hide, while some among us have to take a side. Most people would keep walking or find a place to hide, while some among us have to take a side. shock Paul Freeman traveled to see friends in Bulgaria. That's the second most recent song I've written about a man who is in prison in Bulgaria for defending people against fascists. And there's an argument between anarchists and Leninists or something going on, but thank you for the loud applause in between the argument. That's good. Oh, here's another one. I'm just going through my list of my selected list of songs that is not the complete list, but just the list of songs that I've been working with in the past couple of years for tours, which does actually include all of those requests. But I'm just a bad But I did say I'd take requests, and I did take requests. I just didn't take all of them. Oh, thank you. Looking forward to reading these comments afterwards, too. I'm missing a lot of them, but... San Antonio. Somebody said, please come to San Antonio, which I then have to also, always, my retort to please come anywhere is organize a paying gig for me there, and I will see you there. Because I do this for a living and I don't have savings. And so if I'm going to go somewhere and play a gig, you need to organize a gig that pays me to get there. And otherwise, I'll never get there. And that is also true of other countries, because I do travel a lot to Europe. And I will be, somebody else said, England. I'll be there throughout November. I will be doing gigs in England and Scotland. And if you go to davidrovics.com, there will be lists of the gigs. So far there's not, because I've only got this month's gigs up, but others will be up there. And but the nature of this fan and CSA, as well as landlord, not far from home. Wait, I need to see these messages. Okay, come on. Okay. Oh, thank you. Labor Day concert. You're a landlord, you say? As well as a landlord not far from home. But it's okay to be a landlord if you're a good landlord, I think. I mean, it's, if it's legal and, these things. I mean, in some countries you can't be a landlord. That's probably best. I'm missing some of these messages. Because it's on the YouTube here, it says all messages are visible, but then they're not. I mean, they just disappear within seconds. But the other apps are just as bad. Okay, anyway. Had a very bizarre conversation, speaking of tenants and landlords, which I do regularly. I had a bizarre conversation with somebody who just, who was a renter herself, but also owned a small house which she sold, and she's very well aware that there's a horrible problem with the rents, but she's also annoyed by the fact that there's homeless people all over the place. And in the same conversation, within the same paragraph, she was complaining about the rents going up and complaining about the people living on the streets near the house that she just sold for less money than she could have sold it for if they didn't have people living on the streets in front of it. It's a very strange country. But this is where the fascists come from. They come from people that would be socialists or anarchists, or would have some sense if they spent more time with sensible people. It's 2019, and looking around at the tents and trash and excrement scattered on the ground. So many mansions overlooking the sea. Stretch limos, Rolls Royces, and movie stars all over Los Angeles County. It's 2019. And one thing I know is most people wish we could rewind to a couple of decades ago. Before the rents tripled, folk began to move out into their cars, into their tents, where drivers look on, however loudly you shout. It's 2019. But in a black and white photo, it could be 1929, wherever you go. In every single neighborhood, hungry people wonder why some make billions on a blockbuster, while so many are left out to die. It's 2019, where every 8 hours, someone is found cold on the sidewalk beneath the glass and steel towers in the wealthiest nation in all of human history. So far from paradise, so close to Walt Disney. It's 2019. There's no Dust Bowl, just real estate speculators and all the lives they stole. I don't know what to think when I hear the reporter say 1,000 people died last year living on the streets of LA. It's 2019. Now, I want to see these. Okay, somebody said something back here. I just got a promise of a gig for me in Sligo. I am coming there. I'll be in there in late October, but if you email me at david@davidrovics.com, I would love to talk about a gig anywhere. And yes, have I ever held a concert in Germany? I travel a lot in Germany, and I'll be playing in October. Real estate is a sham, I agree. In October 17th in Bonn, October 19th in Berlin, and hopefully other gigs in Germany. But the Germans are all on vacation, so they're not organizing gigs for me. But if you guys ever come back from vacation there in Germany, please, I'm going to be there next month, and I'd love to have some gigs. And that person in Sligo, I'd love to hear from that person in Sligo as well. That's weird. One of these comments is cut off in a strange way. Climate change. Oh, let's see. Yes, there must be something, right? I think so. Oh, yeah. Is King der Kaiser in the past 5 years? It might be. I was just thinking about that one. But then somebody said climate change. And but I'll also do something related to Germany too, which would also cover one of those requests. See, then there's like 2 in 1. But what was that song called that I just wrote a few weeks ago that has something to do with climate change? It was in here somewhere. I think. Maybe somebody else remembers. Oh, Hong Kong protests. No, it's so hard to write about Hong Kong. Gosh. I've been there. I love the place. But being from the United States and writing about a lot of different countries, it is complicated. Because, yeah. No, okay, it was a really good song, and I wanted to do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, there it is. The Spanish leftist, after the war, deported. Oh, wait a second. I want to see that. Because I think it's... oh my God! Really? Wow. That's a piece of history. That definitely. Yeah, I mean, they got deported after they got deported. Wait, okay, somebody just said I have to repeat this for anybody who missed that. but that there were Spanish leftists who went to France and fought with the resistance against the Vichy regime, and then were deported back to Spain. They were deported by whom? By the Vichy regime or by the post-war regime? Please tell me, because if it's the post-war regime, then of course I have to write a song about it. After the war. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. I will be, send me more on that if you got any, but I can find that on Wikipedia. Gosh. The things I keep learning. This is another one that'll be on the album. The death toll keeps mounting. Each time I turn on my phone. Another mass shooting, another free fire zone. Failed states of America, white supremacist rule, a society riven with victims and tools. The fires keep burning, completely out of control. Makes you miss the old days of the ozone hole. The snow is all melting, the lakes of Greenland. The best hope that I have, I hold in my hand. If there's a tomorrow, then when yesterday's through, you have me, and I have you. We might have to leave town, or maybe we'll fall beneath a hail of bullets at the shopping mall. Perhaps we'll be arrested, perhaps they'll pass us by. But wherever we might be, when we look up at the sky, if there's a tomorrow, then when yesterday's through, you have me, and I have you. They can call it natural, or made by humankind. We'd like it to be different, but this is the place we find, the one we inherit, the one we're in now. Whatever might come of the future, why, when, how? If there's a tomorrow, then when yesterday's through, you have me, and I have you. If there's a tomorrow, then when yesterday's through, you have me, and I have you. I have you. Let's see, what did I miss here? A song about adrenochrome. I don't know what adrenochrome is. At least the Danes would not sell Greenland. Yes. No, Greenland might be melting, but they're not going to sell it. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. I should. I'm going through here. The Green New Deal? Oh, I think it would be great. But it's not, I mean, no, I haven't written a song about it. it's but I've written a lot of songs related to that concept, but not specifically to this proposal by the progressives among the Democrats. I'm not a big I don't think that political change in the United States is going to come through the electoral process. I do think it happens in other places, but it's not going to happen here that way. Or if it does, it'll be after the fact. You know, it'll be after oh yeah, I want to write a song about her. What's her name? You know, this. Yeah, that is on. It's on the agenda actually. I first learning how to pronounce her name, Pavlichenko. Yeah. But related to that subject, here's a song about another resistance fighter. Do I think Brexit would cause a revamped Irish resistance because of a new Irish border? It's already happening, yes. Katerina Jakob, long before she took that name, was organizing workers in Hamburg just the same. Organizing beneath the flag of deepest red, a new dawn of peace and freedom clearly shining in her head. Katerina Jakob first was sent to jail when the trappings of democracy all began to fail. She was frequently arrested, in and out of custody, while her first husband was in hiding from the Nazis. Katerina Jakob was acquitted of a crime, but the Gestapo had the last word. They weren't finished with her this time. She was sent to Ravensbrück, a killing hunger at her side. She heard of the execution, how her second husband died. For Katerina Jakob, the end was close at hand. She was on a death march with a ragged, starving band, marching through a forest, being led by the SS. What would happen hours later seemed impossible to guess. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katerina Jakob thought about her children and the friends and comrades taking care of them, not knowing yet if any of them survived, not knowing that soon she'd see her daughters both alive. Katerina Jakob watched the German soldiers fleeing, streaming from the east, that's what she was seeing. Allied bombers flew above them, she thought they all might die, and then soon there was the silence of all the SS men. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katerina Jakob saw red flags flapping in the breeze above the Russian tanks, and she fell upon her knees. And so many different voices in so many different tongues sang the most beautiful song that could ever have been sung. In German, Lithuanian, in Polish, and in Dutch, a myriad of melodies as never had been such. In Russian and in Yiddish, Italian and French, emerging from the forest beneath a trench. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Folket die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht. Folket die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht. But, and then, request for cover songs. If I know it, then I would happily consider such a request. Absolutely. But then that last song reminds me of another one. Which also reminds me of that you could keep your eyes out if you want. I have a podcast. It's called This Week with David Rovics. It's almost a weekly thing. But then there's also a one I'll be starting up called Song for Today. Well, I've been doing it, but I took a break and I'm doing it again. But it's going to have a lot more historical background now, more teaching, more stories in with the songs, and it will be launched sometime in the near future. And for those who are tuning in later or not, cheese and bread, there's a good idea. But these are, I love the Headless Thompson Gunner. It's a great song. I've never learned it though. But whatever that was about government evicted refugees, can you send me an email about that? I want to write a song about that too, if I can. Of course, the thing about writing these songs about current or historical events, where you can find my email, david@davidrovics.com, or just go to davidrovics.com and click on contact. And these songs about historical events and current events, they only really have an impact if people hear them, and people only hear them if they're recorded well, generally, and that's why I'm making this album. So if you want to go to davidrovics.com, at the bottom of the screen you'll see the link for the album crowdfunder, and your support is most appreciated. And this is another song that will probably be on the next album, another song I wrote recently due to various historical anniversaries going on, which I was reminded about by that last song, although I was going to maybe do it anyway. If I could live to see the day, say 80 years from now, if I could live to be an old man, I'm sure I'd hope I'd be hearing how today was the beginning of an historic victory, and I didn't come in vain to this beach in Normandy. I wonder, will this be the day when the tide began to turn, when our leaders all around the world all began to learn that hatred, fear, and nationalism won't bring us liberty? I think all that from this beach in Normandy. And as I look around me, comrades falling everywhere, the very ocean crimson red, shells zipping through the air. I hope at least the next generation might get a chance to see something better than this beach in Normandy. Yes, if I weren't full of bullet holes, about to breathe my last, propellers roaring above me as the planes are flying past, I might not be so worried about the future of humanity if I weren't bleeding out on this beach in Normandy. Lastly, if I could make a toast over my corpse, I'd say, Here's to the new world, once we make the fascists pay. Here's to a future where all people live in solidarity. As I die here on this beach in Normandy. But for the album, I'll get the timing of the words better, I promise. Let's see. Okay, then there's how many? That's Mina in Arkansas. There must be some kind of a debate going on here I'm missing out on. But let's see, what have I missed lately? It's good. The age range of the audience varies tremendously, and I love that. And people from all over the place. Exarchia, I want to hear about that. Thank you. And my favorite horror movie, Poltergeist, because I saw it when I was the right age. Do you get money when your tracks are played through Google Play Music or the YouTube Music app? Yes, but it's extremely minimal. So, I mean, like I get, I think at this point, because of the volume of play on Spotify, probably like half the money that I get from streaming comes from Spotify and the other half comes from all the other services. Even though they pay better, they don't dominate the market the way Spotify does because Spotify has undercut them. So I'll just be completely straightforward about the numbers, and no need to be, to obfuscate. I get checks. I get direct deposits through PayPal from all streaming platforms globally. All of it combined every month, I get somewhere between $100 and $280. So yeah, that's what it means when you have 5,000 or 6,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and similar numbers on other platforms, and 50,000 songs on Spotify listened to every month. That's the numbers. That's how the numbers go, and and that's why we form, that's why we find other ways to get by. Like that's why we crowdfund albums, because there's no money in recording at all, really. And that's why we, do things like this CSA that I got at davidrovics.com/subscribe. It's to deal with that situation. And actually, my current album, my latest album, is called Songs for Today, and it includes a track called Somewhere on Spotify, and you can only get it if you become a subscriber, join my CSA. Eventually it'll be on Spotify. Songs about the Zapatistas. I did write a song about the Zapatistas when the uprising happened, and I should write a new one. I've got other, I love the requests coming in. I won't possibly get to them, especially before the end of the hour. But I'm going to do a couple more, and really appreciate you all tuning in. It's lovely to see that there's an actual audience out there, and that you're both discussing with each other and with me. I love that. That's wonderful. And it's probably distracting to some people that I keep on interrupting myself by looking at these messages, but you're probably used to that by now because people do it, right? It's not just me, I assume. The Zapatistas are still going strong. A friend of mine is living there, and but it's a whole different situation than it was before, and they're being much more, keeping to themselves for various reasons. Oh, we are St. Paul. Hastings in England? I've played there before. But you live in Nebraska, so I don't know which Hastings you might be thinking of. This is another one that's probably going to be on the album coming up. And it's about current events. So this is what it's like to live in such a place where kids with book bags and braces take the bus to school, learn the golden rule. So this is what it's like to live in such a nation where people stay within their stations, where businessmen wear ties, they have a burger, Coke, and fries. So this is what it's like to live in a country where kids go to the beach to party, mowing lawns for summer wages, while other kids get put in cages. So this is what it's like when you learn to go ahead, put your kids to bed. Try not to think as you turn out the lamp about the ones in our detention camps. So this is what it's like with the rule of law suspended, society upended. You don't know what to do. They're taking away your neighbors, but they're not citizens like you. So this is what it's like. So I was thinking of doing an hour-long event here, so I'm going to wrap it up with one more song, and I appreciate you guys listening, and I'm going to do this for Paula DeAngelis out there in Australia, if she's still awake at this hour, who mentioned Ballad of a Wobbly, which is the name of another album from a couple of years ago, and it's oh, that's cool, Love Song for the Cops. But yeah, because I never recorded it. You're Logan, you win a prize. You should win a prize for being a really top fan when you come up with a song that I never recorded. But Paula requesting that also reminds me that Paula and I together run this thing called the Song News Network, which is basically, and Paula does it a lot more than me, but it's basically a daily feed of songs by me and lots of other artists about today in history and that sort of thing. And the Song for Today podcast that I'll be doing starting up again, is a sort of more selective and longer version of that, with popular education and history and stuff on a not quite daily feed. And I will do one more, and I'm sorry about all those wonderful requests. I really enjoy seeing them come in, and the songs that people like. It's usually the more militant ones, which is interesting. Or maybe those are just the ones who are more likely to request songs. But thanks again for listening. This will be up as a podcast at some point soon. Recorded with a different mic. I got two mics in front of me here. One that you're listening to now, and another that is recording also with audio. For the geeks who want to know. And this is all done with an external mic. I don't know if it sounds good. I didn't have a chance to do a sound check or anything, but this is not the sound of the iPod pad. It's the sound of an external mic, which is better than the one that's in the thing. But so I guess I'll just wrap up by saying, this has been a live stream on YouTube, and it will happen again, and maybe on a more regular basis. I always think about doing this monthly. I should maybe do it on a monthly basis. But I never get around to it. But yeah, I hope to see you elsewhere. If you want to sign on to my email list, it's at davidrovics.com. If you want to join my CSA or see where the gigs are coming up in the Northeast, the Midwest, and Europe in the next couple months. And the podcast This Week with David Rovics. If you like to hear my voice, you can hear a lot more of it. This is a song, The Time to Act, which is also going to be on the next album. I just haven't done it. I came to this country left Scotland far behind, evicted from the Highlands, told to go and find a new life in America across the Atlantic Sea, where I joined the millions of other refugees who ended up at Ellis Island as the century began. The wretched of the earth from every foreign land. When I came to this country, broken and bereft, I quickly saw I'd have been no worse off if I'd never left. Such awful deprivations as I'd never had to face, borne by Swedes and Russians, Africans, and every other race. Millions of people trying not to end up dead from cholera or black lung or being clubbed on the head. When I came to this country to have something on my fork, it was obvious the first thing was to get out of New York. I learned to hop the freight trains, some other stiffs and I caught a westbound rattler to give Oregon a try. Signed up for the logging camps, became a timber beast. If I'd stayed there any longer, I'd have surely been deceased. I came to this country, I worked the copper mines in Butte. I was a Gandhi dancer in Spokane in a Gandhi dancer suit. I heard the rebel girl speak one night in a railway yard. I joined the union right away, got my first red card, became a hobo organizer for the one big union grand, preaching the wobbly gospel across this starving land. I came to this country, I soon enough lost track of the number of times I felt a billy club upon my back, or how many times I saw the tents with freezing kids working in the mines instead of living on the skids. How many times I heard the horrid crying from below of those trapped there in the dungeons with nowhere left to go. When I came to this country, it was a hopeful time of desperation. The red flags flew all across the nation, but when the war began in Europe, we refused to die and kill. We refused to fight a boss's war, serve the boss's will. That's when they got the Legion to burn down our union halls all across the land where there used to be four walls. When I came to this country, I had no great expectations, but I didn't think I'd end up back here awaiting deportation. On a steamship on the Hudson, I watched the sunset fade, with 20,000 others swept up in the Palmer raids. Counting myself lucky that I'm still alive, remembering the moment that I first arrived. When I came to this country, when I came to this country, when I came to this country. Thank you very much, everybody out there. I will sign off, and those recent comments I'll be seeing afterwards. And if anybody wants to email me about anything at all, please do. david@davidrovics.com. I do check messages on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Probably elsewhere too, but email is more reliable for me. Maybe because I'm old, or I don't know. But and especially, anybody writing about anything is always welcome, but especially good song ideas with hook lines, ideally, if you have an idea for a hook line. That's like a refrain of some kind. And emails about people who want to organize a paying gig. Not people who want to recommend a venue, that's actually pretty useless, but people who want to organize a paying gig at a venue. I want to hear from you. Especially if you want to organize a paying gig in the Midwest in October, or Europe in late October or November. But I'll be back everywhere at some point eventually, if it's North America or Europe. And otherwise, hope to see you in cyberspace and in person. And maybe on my YouTube channel again next month. I think I'll do this again in a month. Why not? Yeah. Signing off for now. Take care. Bye-bye.